The year is 1889, and the city chokes on coal smoke and industrial greed. You stand in the shadows of a Mayfair alleyway while the damp chill bites your skin. Gas lamps hiss against the encroaching darkness while casting long shadows across the empty brick walls. A distant train whistle pierces the midnight silence with a sharp metallic shriek of modern progress. You pull the collar of your wool coat high against the biting autumn wind. The wealthy sleep soundly behind their wrought iron gates and their heavy oak doors. Tonight you will remind them that stone and iron cannot keep out the hungry shadows. You pat the leather pouch at your belt to feel the familiar shape of your lockpicks. The tools represent your livelihood and your freedom in a world built on ruthless commerce. You step out of the alley and cross the street with silent, measured strides. Your leather boots make no sound against the wet stones of the deserted aristocratic thoroughfare. The target stands at the corner of the square like a fortress of Victorian arrogance. Lord Harrington made his fortune in the Indian tea trade through exploitation and brutal efficiency. You plan to redistribute a small fraction of that wealth before the sun rises again. The mansion grounds are surrounded by a spiked iron fence that demands respect from ordinary citizens. You are not an ordinary citizen, and you do not respect the boundaries of the rich. You approach the side gate, where the shadows gather thickest beneath a sprawling oak tree. The iron feels like ice against your bare fingers as you grip the vertical bars. You find the footholds you scouted yesterday and pull yourself up with smooth, practiced motion. Muscle memory guides your ascent over the sharp spikes with inches to spare on either side. Ekir, you drop onto the soft earth of the garden without making a single audible sound. The scent of damp soil and dying roses fills your lungs as you crouch low. You wait for a long minute to let your eyes adjust to the deep darkness. A lone carriage rattles down the distant avenue and fades into the ambient city noise. You move through the manicured bushes while keeping your silhouette hidden from the street windows. The stone facade of the mansion looms above you like a sheer cliff face. You locate the drainage pipe that runs alongside the servant quarters toward the second floor. The metal pipe is slick with condensation and requires a vice grip to climb safely. You wrap your hands around the cold cylinder and begin the slow, agonizing ascent upward. Your shoulders burn with effort as you haul your body weight higher into the night. The masonry scrapes against your knuckles, but you ignore the minor pain of the climb. You reach the balcony ledge and swing your leg over the carved stone balustrade. Your boots touch the marble floor of the balcony, and you release a slow breath. You crouch by the glass door and peer into the velvet darkness of the interior. Heavy drapes block most of the room, but a sliver of space reveals a study. You retrieve your tension wrench and a rake pick from your leather tool pouch. The brass lock requires delicate persuasion rather than the brute force of a crowbar. 8. You insert the tension wrench into the bottom of the keyway and apply gentle pressure. You slide the rake pick inside and feel the individual pins resting against the metal. The first pin binds, and you push it upward until it clicks into the shear line. The sound is barely a whisper, but it rings like a bell in your ears. You manipulate the second and third pins with the precision of a master watchmaker. The core rotates with a satisfying snap, and the locking mechanism disengages completely. You turn the handle and ease the glass door open just enough to slip inside. The temperature shifts immediately from the damp street chill to the dry warmth of the house. The smell of expensive beeswax polish and stale cigar smoke assaults your heightened senses. You step onto the thick Persian rug and close the door silently behind you. The darkness inside the study is absolute, and requires careful navigation to avoid disaster. De calme, you slide your hand along the wall to find your bearings in the unfamiliar room. Your fingertips brush against the silk wallpaper and the smooth wood of framed oil paintings. You know the safe is hidden here because the blueprints cost you a fortune last week. The floorboards protest slightly under your weight, so you shift your steps closer to the wall. Joists are strongest at the edges, where the wood meets the structural beams of the house. You glide across the room like a ghost, hunting for a lost memory in the dark. Your hand finds the edge of a massive mahogany desk dominating the center of the room. You strike a single match and cup the flame within your palms to limit the light. The brief yellow flare reveals a portrait of a stern ancestor hanging on the far wall. You shake the match out and let the smell of sulfur dissipate into the still air. You approach the portrait and trace the edges of the heavy gilded wooden frame. Oik, your fingers find a hidden latch concealed behind the ornate carvings of the bottom right corner. You press the latch and the entire painting swings outward on well-oiled metal hinges. The cold steel face of a modern combination safe gleams faintly in the ambient moonlight. You kneel before the metal box and press your ear against the heavy steel door. You place your right hand on the brass dial and clear your mind of all distractions. When the mechanism requires you to feel the tumblers dropping into place through the tips of your fingers, you turn the dial clockwise and listen to the faint clicks echoing inside the metal casing. The friction changes subtly as the first disc aligns with the internal locking gate. You reverse the direction and spin the dial counterclockwise to catch the second disc. The tension in the air feels thick enough to cut with a sharp iron blade. A floorboard creaks in the hallway outside the study, and your blood turns to ice. You freeze completely and stop your own breathing to listen to the sounds of the house. The rhythmic ticking of a grandfather clock downstairs measures the agonizing passage of empty time. Heavy footsteps shuffle past the study door and slowly fade down the carpeted corridor. The night watchman is making his rounds, but he suspects absolutely nothing of your presence. You exhale a silent breath and return your focus to the unforgiving brass dial. You find the second number and reverse direction again to align the final mechanical tumbler. The dial stops turning, and the heavy locking bolts slide back with a muffled metallic thud. You pull the steel handle, and the safe door swings open to reveal the prize. The interior smells of crisp paper currency and the metallic tang of gold bullion. You bypass the heavy silver bars because they are too cumbersome to carry across the rooftops. You reach for the leather ledger containing negotiable bearer bonds that leave no paper trail. You grab a velvet pouch filled with uncut diamonds intended for a wealthy aristocrat bride. You secure the loot inside your coat pockets and calculate the exact weight of your newly acquired wealth. The haul is enough to buy passage to America and start a completely new life. You close the safe door and spin the dial to lock the mechanism once again. You swing the portrait back into position and ensure the hidden latch clicks into place. You leave the room exactly as you found it to delay the inevitable morning discovery. A good thief leaves no trace until the victim realizes their treasures are already gone. You retreat toward the balcony door and step back out into the freezing night air. The wind has picked up, and the fog now blankets the street below in gray. You lock the glass door behind you to maintain the illusion of absolute domestic security. You climb over the balustrade and grip the slick drainage pipe for the downward journey. Gravity pulls at your tired muscles, but the adrenaline of success keeps your hand steady. You slide down the metal pipe and drop onto the soft dirt of the garden. You retrace your steps through the manicured bushes while avoiding the harsh glow of the street lamps. You You scale the iron gate and drop back down into the shadows of the alleyway. The city feels different now because you carry the power of stolen wealth in your pockets. You walk away from Mayfair and head toward the twisted streets of the eastern slums. The gas lamps flicker out one by one as the sky turns a bruised purple. The dawn approaches to wash away the sins of the dark and expose the city. You merge with the waking crowds of factory workers who march toward their daily misery. Seish, they trade their lives for copper coins, while you trade your courage for absolute freedom. You touch the diamonds in your pocket and smile at the smoke-filled morning sky. The world belongs to those who are brave enough to reach into the dark and take it. The law protects the rich, but the shadows offer sanctuary to the desperate and the bold. You are a ghost of the industrial age surviving entirely by your own iron will. You vanish into the morning mist, leaving nothing but an empty safe and a legend behind.